everybody, John Huber here, Maryland Education Network, brought to you by Maryland K-12. In the world of education, there's this mythical teacher out there who we would say, administrators would say, oh my God, that he or she would send kids to the office for not having a pencil. And that creates that type of thing where, my God, the kid comes in without a pencil. Should you send a kid to the office for not having a pencil? No, of course not. Of course not. It's not disruptive. It's not, hurting anyone else in the room, at least yet. But why am I doing a thing here about pencils? And I'll tell you why. Because if the kid comes in and doesn't have a pencil, and we say, just give the kid a pencil, great. I'm all for it. Give the kid a pencil. Then what happens? A couple things are happening here. Number one, the kid no longer values pencil. Figure, why even bother bringing a pencil to school because they're just going to give me one. It's the same thing with a laptop. Well, if I come without a laptop, they'll just give me a loaner. What's it matter, right? So now you've taken the responsibility off the kids, and now the school system accepts the responsibility of providing, which we have, laptops, and in many cases, pencils. Schools have big buckets of pencils. So anyway, and that's one thing. Then the kid next to him looks and says, well, if he's not going to bring a pencil, why would I bother bringing a pencil? So next thing you know, half the kids don't bring pencils. And the teachers, when we say, well, just give them pencils for God's sake, okay, fine. So then teachers end up with these big, buckets of pencils up the front. But then what happens? Then you start finding pencils all over the floor. They're broken up, thrown all over the place. They're stuffed inside the heaters. Yeah, I pulled a few of those. They're stuffed inside those heat and air conditioning units by the windows. They're all stuffed and broken down in there. They're all over the hall. And then pencils no longer have any value, okay? And that's where we are in education and in other things as well. Laptops as well, they have no value. If the kids break it, what happens if they break it? They sign all these things, you're going to be held responsible. Are they really? I mean, maybe. I don't think so. I think in many cases, say, well, we can't afford it. We're sorry it was an accident. All right, well, we'll just give them another one, right? Gym uniforms. Right? Remember gym uniforms? You had to buy a gym uniform. Oh, I mean, now technically you still have to buy a gym uniform, but what happens if you don't? What are they going to do? They say, well, I'll just give them a uniform. And now what happens is ask any phys ed teacher, where do they find gym uniforms? All over the locker room, thrown on the floor, and now the kids don't want to wear them because I'm wearing that old crusty uniform. And it devalues the gym uniform. You've devalued the pencils. You've devalued everything. Because you really haven't held kids accountable, and you really haven't held them responsible. All right. Now I know it's a lot of people say, "Well, what are you going to do?" I don't have the answer to that one, but I just don't think the answer is let's just give them everything away. I'll give you another example. This time of year, you hear all these these trucks are riding around collecting up all these school supplies, free school supplies for kids who can't afford it. That's great. I am absolutely 100% in favor of providing anything for someone who can't afford it. But I tell you, first of all, most schools, all the ones I've worked in, have closets full of this stuff, full of binders and book bags and all kinds of stuff that any kid could get. They just say, oh, I don't have a book bag. Do you have a book bag for me? Yeah, sure. Here's a book bag. And we've done the same with school lunches. They're pretty much, it's only a matter of time. I think some of them already are just free. Just, come on. Remember you used to have to pay? Then we said, okay, let's free and reduced lunch. I'm all for free and reduced lunch if you can't afford it. But now it's just like free breakfast for everybody, free this for everybody, give them the school pencils, and it's all wrapped around this, they can't afford it. And again, if they can't afford it, absolutely, let's help them out. But to just make these blanket, because the problem is in the enforcement, okay? The enforcement of determining who's eligible, who's in need, and who's not. That becomes the problem. If you look at everything from, like I said, school lunches to gym uniforms to give them a pencil, and we have devalued a lot of these things in education. So that's my little middle clip for today. I'm working on a solution for it. I don't have. That's a tough one. The answer, very simply, is to concentrate on determining who's really in need and who's not. I've seen kids stand in line with $500 sneakers and $1,500 cell phones, getting free lunches, and complaining because their free lunches, they didn't fill out a form properly, and they're getting free lunch. It's crazy. Not all schools, they're not all like that. But let me tell you, it's a problem. And because the school continues to accept responsibility for things that they probably should not accept responsibility for. So anyway, just my little talk for today. Pencils is where it starts, and before you know it, nothing is of value anymore. So anyway, thanks for listening. Have a great day.